Welcome to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mystic Raven. So once again, I'm back in the public test server, and guess what we're doing? Well, we're testing. All right, guys. So in today's video, what I want to do is I've been testing the 532, working out different configurations to see what the new stat increases the set is going to do as far as base performance in comparisons. So I've already gone over Twiceborn Star versus Julianos. I've already done Willpower versus Trial Jury. Somebody had said that it's bugged on target skeletons. I don't know if that's the case, so I can't dismiss it, though I can't confirm it. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But if it's working as intended, the Willpower is going to be more dominant than Trial Jury. I know a lot of people aren't going to be liking that if it's working as intended. If that's the case, the devs really do need to take a look at Trial Jury, because players go in there and there does need to be a form of progression, and I do agree with that. Unfortunately, though, if it is a bug and it's not working as intended, then calm down. We'll get the comparison when they put the hotfix in, if they ever do. So this is what I'm going to be doing today, is seeing if I can get an indifferent curve to occur between the 532 and the double stack, or if the double stack is more dominating than the 532 configuration, because since one Tamriel, that's what a majority of us have been running. If you've been running the 532 after one Tamriel, you were gimping your DPS considerably, a lot, by almost 5,000, a lot. So a lot of people, like old schoolers, have been still trying to stick to that configuration, but majority of us have adapted, and it goes without saying. Hence why they buffed the Maelstrom weapons, and they've made these buffs to Master weapons and Maelstrom weapons. I'm not going to say that's going to be the case on the back bar. So what I want to do today, like I said, I want to see if I can get in a different curve to occur, kind of put on different things and see where we're going to be looking at as far as base damage. Without proc, without anything, to kind of go from there and kind of determine how the configurations are going to compare without having to mindlessly, worry about it. I always go for base. That's what I always shoot for. What's my base damage on both ends? So today we're going to be doing that. I'm limited on my gear selection in public test. So what we're going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go to my little public test home. This is what I have in the PS4. That's why I select this house. We're creatures of habit. What can I say? I got a late start today, so I'm hoping I can kind of, go through things. Plus, I was PvPing last night, and oh my God, at least they titled the event right, Mid-Year Mayhem, because it is definitely mayhem. All right, guys. So this is what we're going to go ahead and do. First, I'm going to put on, but I'm not going to run this. I want to go ahead and run up what I've been doing. Nope, wrong one. Okay, we're going to go with that. We're going to go with 1 recovery. And we're going to go 1 spell damage. I want to keep everything kind of lined up the same way. Now, I'm going to go with the crafted set. I'm going to stick with the Julianos on this. The only difference of it is I'm going to switch out later on. So, and I want to keep everything kind of consistent. So this is precise. So I want a precise Tauros pack. I want to keep everything kind of lined up of what I'm going to be doing. Another thing I want to go ahead and do, I'm going to actually throw a funnel health on the back bar too, because we're going to see how the stats are affected. And with spinners, I'm going to have to readjust champion points because I'm going to be getting a penetrating effect. So I'm going to deduct the difference and reapply it to see if we can get the indifferent curve to occur. Okay, food buff is up. Now I've readjusted these kind of specs, so I'll let you guys see the character sheet and what we're looking at with this configuration. So we're looking at 19.3 for max health. We're looking at 42,000 max magicka, 1283 recovery. All right, and my crit is 58.2. All right, make sure everything. Hold on. Just want to make sure we have all 5. We're good. Okay, we're going to get this to crit at the highest damage. And actually, yeah, I'll throw on the mark. 1908. I'm not worried about that damage. I'm just worried about that 1908. Okay, so we got 1908 to occur with the 532. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is test it also on the staff bar. Because remember what we're getting. Now ideally, like I said, I want to get the Nirnholm staff in Maelstrom. So this would be a factor, given the fact that I'm missing 200 spell damage. So this is relevant because what this is going to do is, right now my crit's at 60, right? And I'm using a precise. The precise I'm going to lose is going to be taking me back down to 50 something. So I'm not really worried about having a precise. I want that Nirnholm. I want that damage increase. So yeah, this is going to be a factor. I'm not going to lie to you guys. 12,207. Oh, let me throw up the mark. 13,6. 13,6 on the staff side. Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to switch out the gear. Now, I'm going to go with the Juliano. So, for people who aren't aware of what the double stack is, it's 2 5-piece sets stacked. That's what we call a double stack because it's 2 sets, double sets. Okay? So that's why it's called the double stack. We want to make sure the Nirnholm stays on the primary hand. Only difference of it is instead of Taurox Pack, it's going to be the Julianos. And instead of this Taurox Pack Precise, we're going to be using the spinners so we can get the double stack on the side. Now on the off the offside, we're going to lose that. So we're going to anticipate a DPS drop. We'll lose that on the Julianos, but not the spinners. The spinners is definitely one of the sets, the primary set we're going to be focusing on because it has the penetrating value, which we're going to deduct from the champion points. We're going to keep everything the same except switch out the feet. And as you can see, it's another 174. So when I go back to the character sheet, we're going to get them bumped to magicka. Health's going to stay the same. Recovery is going to stay the same. And I'm not going to say that that's going to be a significant difference, but another thing that we got to take into effect is how much penetration we're going to have to deduct. So almost 4K, 3,907. We're going to deduct from the champion points. Now we're not going to change out the Mundus, so that's going to be one of the things that we're actually going to keep, and that's the Lover. So 3,009 is what we're going to deduct from champion points and reallocate those points to see if we can get in a different curve. Now, I don't have that much penetration, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump it all. And I'm going to re-put these points into my base damage. We have 2 points left. Actually, I'm not even going to use them. I'm not even going to use those 2 points. So 1908 was what we were hitting for, right? Now this is the double stack, so we're going to work it on this side first. Oh no! That is so crazy. There it is, guys. This is why we do it. Everybody ever wants to know why we don't run the 5-3-2. I was really hopeful on this. But once again, guys, it shows why we double stack sets. This is why we do it. And it's kind of sad that this has to happen this way. That's significant. So it's not even in a different curve because it's dominant. It's showing what it does. Double stacks, man. I'm telling you, every day, all day. And this is controlled because we're using a crafted set. So typically on a double stack, we'll use different setups and different configurations. We'll typically use the proc. But does that mean you have to go with proc? No. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch off to this side and see. And to tell you the truth, we're still, you know, not going to be losing much on that staff sidebar compared to what we're going to be doing on our primary dual bar. It's the 5-3-2 is just a dead configuration. It keeps up, it competes, but the problem of it is when we look at comparing the DPS on base value or overall, and base affects your DPS. When you're doing a parse, or I wouldn't even call target skeletons a parse. It's not an accurate parse because the metrics is going to change due to encounters, right? But if you're trying to get, you know, an idea between your rotation of what your max and min is going to be in between, that has a lot to do with your rotation and not your configuration. Your configuration, you should be looking at a base amount of what you're going to be doing for each ability. That's how you determine how you set up and configure your champion points. Because what you need to do is take a look at how much of a diminishing return you have on each type of damage applied, whether it's direct or whether it's going to be a dot damage. When we're taking a look at base damage, though, that's what we always scale from. And then we can go ahead and fine-tune our rotation. But base damage isn't going to change based on rotation, but your DPS or your metrics will. So that's why I'm always telling people, don't go off of a target skeleton for a parts. It's not practical at all. But a target skeleton is going to be good for determining your base amount of damage and getting you more accustomed to learning your rotation, and that's why it was implemented, and I really like that. I understand why ZeniMax doesn't want to go ahead and throw up a metrics, a group parser, because it's usually elitist who, and I've done this, I've been guilty of this. Like when in prior games, I would look at a metrics, right? Because I'm usually one of the officers or the leader of a trial group, and I would take a look at the metrics. Now, typically, I don't care so long as they're within like 2 to 3% of the marginal ideal DPS. But once they drop below that 5%, I now have to worry about the enrage timer. And a lot of ads like King Boss Mod allowed me to see the enrage timer, which allowed me to determine how much DPS had to go into the boss before it enraged and wiped the party. So what this allowed me to do was to determine whether or not a player was good enough. And that kind of sucked. It was a buzzkill for the community as far as your casual players. But unfortunately, a lot of casual players couldn't handle that type of content, and it's just being practical. But now a lot of MMOs are actually straying away from that and giving it content to more casual players. And that's one thing I love about Elder Scrolls, because we have the normal modes, we have the hard modes, and then we have vet hard modes. So it really does kind of offer the same content for all different types of players. So I kind of give that up to Elder Scrolls. Though I'm not really happy with the progression system that ZOS implemented for the game, because it's, once again, it's a sandbox type of game with the gear system. It really, they need to kind of take a look at incentives. And I don't think titles or fluff is enough incentive to keep hardcore raiders or trial players interested for too long. So they kind of need to take a look at that and maybe in the future and kind of see what type of incentives they can give some of these players, because certain players want players to know, hey, yeah, I'm the best. And best in slot, once again, I'm never going to say best, because this setup, even though I'm running a double stack configuration on the Nightblade, this configuration might not work as far as the Sorcerer, because the best in slot is, once again, the highest you can go. It's why it's called best in slot. It's the progression up. And I'm loving the fact that we're going to see this. Now, is the 5-3-2 a bad setup? No. And the reason I'm going to say this, and the reason I'm going to say that the 5-3-2 is still going to be a good setup, is because of the differences to Maelstrom. But here's the deal, guys. I could still slot. If I reconfigure, right, this, I could, if I'm running not a crit set, and I'm running the Thief, right, and I don't have any crit set on, I could still slot a Maelstrom weapon as my 4th slot, right? So that's relevant, and people have said that, you know, you could slot this, and I have on certain builds where I used maybe like the Master Inferno Staff. It switched out my rotation. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a best in slot, because it's going to depend on the ability and rotation that I'm going to be using, so to configure. But you can do that. If you're going to be using like the Thief, you can go ahead and you have no crit set applied, and you're going to be running a double stack, you can still use your master weapons or Inferno, and that's going to be significant as well. So I'm not going to say that this test is an absolute determining factor of which way your build should go. That's what makes this game really great, is because it really does lend itself to flexibility. But in this case scenario, the double stack is still going to be killing the 5-3-2 setup. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I do want to thank you for watching, and once again and always, have a nice day.